Welcome to A Breath of Life, figuratively and literally. L'chaim, veli vracha, to life and to blessings. That's what we do here every day when we learn Tanya. We have a breath of life. It's interesting, the term, the breath of life. Why the breath? Because that's how we got life. That's how we got life. To the rest of creation, there's merely the word of God that animates all of creation. But by Adam, it says, and God blew in him, in his nostrils, the breath of life. And he became, that's what makes us human, different than animals. As we have a breath of life because we have a piece of God in us, created in the image of God, having a part of God within us, even more so. And that gives us a capacity to have the breath of life, to have real life, to learn. When we learn Tanya, that reveals that reality, that truth. Otherwise, we could be going, in a very confused state of being, of thinking that life is all about my own existence, subsistence that includes sustenance, it includes mental, emotional, psychological well-being. And then I don't really breathe the breath of life. The breath of life that has been put into me from the divine. And therefore I just live a regular, normal existence, human existence, day by day, as they say, right? Of trying to merely exist. And then what happens is you take up space. And because you take up space, guess what? You happen to be in someone else's space. That's how they're going to look at you. And not only that, that's how you're going to look at others. Hey, you're taking up some of my space. I wanted to sit there. I wanted to have what you got there. I want to have the experience that you have. I want to have some of the things that you've got in your personality. There's the space of another all of a sudden is an existential threat to you. That's the human condition. And that's how really we all are. If we don't have the breath of life in us, the breath of God's divine soul that we live with. Where we're going to get any notion of that? Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. David, take a seat. Make yourself at home. Actually, don't make yourself so much at home. No. In other words, sit. Plain and simple, yeah. We're continuing with the fifth letter of the Alter Rebbe, teaching us about creation and how what we learn. This is the name of God, the Tetragrammaton, a Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. And as our sages say, that God created the worlds with these two letters, actually. The spiritual worlds, Garden of Eden, with the letter Yud, and this world with the letter Hey, this first Hey, which we'll get to in a moment. in God's name. Those two letters, imagine, two letters creates everything. Whoa, that's a pretty creative process, right? But we've discussed that notion previously about that. Now, so the spiritual world, the world Yud, because that's Chachma, the divine wisdom, that is the vehicle for the infinite of God, and therefore it creates a more sublime, divine awareness, spiritual world, the Garden of Eden, where the souls are enamored and bask in the ray of divine light. This world is from the hay. But what we've learned till now is actually, which hay is it that God creates the world with? Hey, hey? Hey, hey?
Number one.
No, number two, the latter one.
The latter one? Oh, that's what's, okay.
Right? Why the latter one? What does this hay This represents Chachma, we just said. What does this represent?
Bina?
Bina. Because Chachma is just a flash of intelligence. It starts, every letter starts with that beginning, right? Beginning. But then Bina brings it to full breadth, length, and depth. It completely develops the idea into a full-blown understanding of something, which is being understanding, building of an idea, right? Vav is the six emotions. Vav is the sixth letter, six emotions. Also, Vav is written up, down. Emotions come from the intelligence, the tip, right? Gives birth to emotions. That's right. That's Vav. What's the latter hay represent?
Material?
I should know this.
Malchus.
Oh, kingship?
Kingship, royalty, speech. It's the king. The king rules with his word.
Yeah.
This is royalty, the last of the 10. These are the 10. 10 attributes over here. 1, 2, 6.
Yeah.
Right? That gives us 8.
The numerical value you're saying.
Not numerical. No. Chachma. There's 10, 3 intellectual.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And 7 emotional. Chachma, Bina, Das is the bridge between the two.
Yeah.
Okay? Then 6 emotions, and then Malchus.
Where's the seventh emotion?
Huh?
Where's the
Malchus.
seventh?
Malchus.
Where's the seventh?
It's the extension of it. It's the expression of the emotions, okay?
Yeah.
Malchus, speech, right?
Yeah.
God creates the world with his
Speech.
speech, right?
Yeah.
Well, if God creates the world with his speech, and that's the hay over here, then why do our sages say that God created the world with the hay over here? That's what the Alter Rebbe is going to explain to us, right?
Yeah.
So this is Bina. Bina means you understand. What happens when you understand something?
You have a feeling about it.
Then it brings you into the emotions, right? It develops the emotion, right? The feeling comes, the understanding is developed into the emotion in the heart. The heart is where the breath comes from, right? The breath of speech. The breath of speech, which the breath, as we explained, when it comes to creation, there's 2 elements in speech. There's the verbalization and the breath.
Yeah.
Right? The verbalization is the internal aspect of speech. The verbalization of speech is only through breath.
Yeah.
Right? I just moved my lips, I moved my teeth, my tongue, my palate, and larynx all in different words that I said, but it wasn't verbalized, it wasn't externalized because there was no breath.
Yeah.
So there's the 2 elements of speech, right, as a result. Now, so that's why when we speak about, so that this hay then ends up being this hay at the end, right? Because it's the root source of where it's going to be verbalized, the breath, right? Because the breath is going to come, the lungs that are developed that through the heart. This is the idea. The idea then is then just as Hey is an expansion of the Yud here, right? So the Vav is expanded by the Hey, right? And also this Hey is expanded by this Hey. Ultimate. Whoa, let's just follow for a second, okay? Before adding, right? It's expanding.
Yeah.
Because how does this expand this? Because your emotions are only emotions between you and yourself towards another, but they only remain within you.
Yeah.
Only when you express them in speech do they now become expansive, and that they are now externalized and they come outside of you and they're beyond you. So that's expanding beyond you. That's this Hey over here, right? That is expanding by verbalizing, by expressing a feeling that you have that remains within you.
Yeah.
If it was not spoken. So ultimately, those letters are connected. So God then creates the world through the final Hey, that final Hey in God's name. Royalty, that's again, the king rules with his word. And in that word, there is the way it materializes the physical world through the verbalization of the breath, which, as we learned previously, the letter Hey, when you don't have a vowel underneath it, it's only pronounced with a right? A pay without vowelization, you would say there's a pronunciation of the letter.
But there's no breath.
No, well, it'll be breath. Otherwise, it's not verbalized. It always has to be breath if it's going to be verbalized. No, the point is that that there's a distinction in the verbalization of it, that it's a pay and not a yud, for example, right? It's a pay, not a lamed, right? But the Hey is only the breath, so it would be like any, in other words, not distinguished in its unique form of a letter, right? Without the vowel, if it didn't have a vowel to it, right? Which is expressing then pure verbalization, which is the breath of the Hey, right? Hey also is the numeric value of 5, because in articulating letters, there are 5 organs. You have your lips for the letter Pei. You have your teeth for the letter Shin. You have your tongue for the letter Lamed. You have your larynx for the letter Ches. And you have your palate for the Gimel. Okay. In other words, you're using all 5 organs for everything that you articulate. However, there's one that's more primary than another, and therefore the 22 letters give rise to combinations, and some combinations of letters, that you're going to have a multitude of creations, a multitude of different forms of creation as a result. And that is the letter Hey that God creates this world with. As the Sefer Yetzirah says, when you have 2 stones, letters are like stones. Stones are inanimate. Letters are inanimate in a sense, right? But yet, when you have 2 stones, you have only 2 possibilities. You have 2 letters, you only have 2 possibilities of making 2 words. Aleph base, it can be Av
Or ba.
or Ba or Bo, right? If you have 3 letters, you have 6 possibilities. If you have 7 letters, so then how many possibilities do you have? 5,040 words that you can build out of 7 letters, which is unbelievable, right? So from the letters and the combinations of letters, that's how we have the plurality of this world that God creates. And that is that letter Hey in God's name. Any questions, any comments?
So then creation is finite.
Mm,
If it
Yes,
creates-
yeah,
yeah, I was thinking that.
yes. Well, it's finite in the fact that it's letters that's creating it, but it's infinite. It's infinite because there's an infinite amount of permutations of letters.
Exactly.
And not only letters, but you can substitute letters. You also have the gematria, the numeric value of letters.
Yeah.
So there is a great potential, infinite potential of different creations. That's today's Tanya.
Oh,
We have 16.
I did that.
Oh wow.
he did, yeah.
It's so long, but you.
Yeah, he didn't, yeah.
All right, folks.
Makes it learnable.
All right, Rambam coming up. Thank you.
Wow.
So I don't read while he's talking.
Neither did I.
It's not the same thing. It's the same thing, but it's, I try.
So Malchus is kingship in the sense of how a king can act in the world. Like a king has dominion over the world.
I mean, this is for an aspect. This is there's the king himself,
Yeah.
and then there's a function of the king.
But
The king himself is one thing.
yeah.
The function of the king is to rule. Function of the king is to rule. He rules. And so how does he rule? With his word. That's how God rules the world. With his word, he creates.
Any rules.
Well,
But he
if
says-
one second, that's more than a king. A king can only say off with his head. God says,